the State Council of Higher Education, talk the book English book review. I welcomed Srimati K. Mounika on behalf of Andhra Pradesh State Council of Higher Education for a book review on The Palace of Illusions. It's a novel written by the popular Indian-American author Chitra Banerje, Divakarun. The novel is a retelling of Indian epic Mahabharata from the point of view of Draupadi. It highlights the roles of female characters Mahabharata like Kunti, Gandhari, Subhadra and others, and presents Mahabharata in a perfectly new perspective. The Palace of Illusions, published in 2008, has been a national bestseller for more than. The novel has won notable awards like American Book Award, 10 Josephine Miles Award, and a Premio Scarno. Written in a simple and straightforward manner, The Palace of Illusions is a piece of delight for book lovers who enjoy reading the genre of mythology and feminism. Srimati K. Mounika is a lecturer in English at Government Degree College for Women, Srikakulam, presently pursuing PhD in African American Literature from Geetham, Dimuttu University, Visakhapatnam. Pursued BA from St. Joseph College for Women, Visakhapatnam. Pursued MA in English from Andhra University, Visakhapatnam. Qualified UG Senate Lectureship and Junior Research Fellowship in 2017. Stood third at state level in APSCHE degree lecturer examination conducted in 2016. Stood first at state level in assistant professor screening test conducted by APSCHE. Worked as part-time radio jockey for over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir, for the brief introduction. A very good afternoon, everyone. I'm K. Mounika, lecturer in English, working in Government College for Women, Srikakulam. And the novel which I'm going to present today is The Palace of Illusions. First of all, I would like to congratulate the APSCHE for presenting such a wonderful initiative in order to encourage people to read books. And today's novel, as I have said, which I'm going to present, is The Palace of Illusions, and it was written by Indian American author Chitra Banerje Divakarun. And this novel was published in the year 2008, and it has been a bestseller in India for more than an year. So let me begin with my presentation first. So let me take a moment to recall when I read this novel. So it was in 2018, it was in 2013 when I had initially joined Andhra University, and we used to have frequent visits to with Dr. V.S. Krishna Library. And during one such visit, I came across this novel, The Palace of Illusions. And the thing that had actually attracted me towards this novel was its dark green cover page with the huge gate that is printed on it. I know they say that one should not judge a book by its cover, but this cover page of this book was really very interesting to me. And it was as if the large gate that is printed on the cover was promising me to transport me to some different world. And surely this novel had did the same, because ever since I read this novel, I fell in love with it, and I kept on recalling this novel again and again. And coming to the protagonist of the story, so girls born in Hindu family, right from their childhood, are given examples of goddesses like Sita or goddess Lakshmi or Durga, and they are asked to be like the goddesses, like to be patient, to have patience like goddess Sita, and so on. So here comes the questions, that what if instead of seeing our goddesses as goddesses, we see them as ordinary human beings or ordinary women? How would they respond to the situations that they have underwent in their lives? And what if the mythology wasn't narrated by men, or instead it was narrated by women? How the stories would be, how the women characters would have been portrayed by this men. So, what would be the emotions of the goddesses? So, these are the questions we truly find ourselves with. And at the same time, women are given examples of different goddesses like Sita or Lakshmi and Durga, as I have already said. So, does this link include Draupadi also? If not Draupadi, why is Draupadi not included in this list? So, Draupadi is the central character of the novel, The Palace of Illusions, and the epic of Mahabharata is retold from the perspective of Draupadi. Before I begin the story of the novel, I would like to give a disclaimer that whatever the story which I am narrating to you is completely given in the novel. There are no observations of mine that is included over here. And even the author gives a disclaimer that this novel is completely fictional, and there is nothing to do with the Mahabharata. Actually, she has taken it from Mahabharata, but most of the characters and things which she has imagined is fictional. So Draupadi is the central character of Palace of Illusions, and the story begins in this way. And also, this novel is very lengthy. So, in order to cut short it, I have presented only the important aspects and the stories in the novel. And also, I have disrupted the chronology that is given in the novel. Actually, the chronology given in the novel is very beautiful. But if I narrate this novel in the same way, probably there will be trouble with the audience. So that is the reason I have disrupted the chronology also. So coming to the first chapter, so coming to the first chapter, uh, the novel starts with the childhood of Draupadi when she asks her Nani or Daima to narrate the story of her birth. Daima narrates how King Draupadi did a yagya for 30 days, which led to the birth of Draupadi and her brother Drishtadyumna. Though King Draupad already had children, he had performed this yajna in order to create a strong warrior to seek vengeance against Dronacharya. The story of Dronacharya and Draupad is told in the later chapters, but let me tell it to you now. King Draupad and Dronacharya were once best friends and studied together in same ashram. When their studies come to end, King Draupad requests Dronacharya to come and visit him whenever he becomes the king. Many years later, Dronacharya becomes the most knowledgeable Brahmin under the guidance of Parashuram. Yet he remains very poor, so poor that he cannot even afford a glass of milk for his son Ashwadhama. This makes Dronacharya to visit his friend Draupad, who refuses to recognize him for the sake of his pride. Dronacharya feels humiliated by the gestures of King Draupad and his courtiers, and he leaves angrily. After a few months, Kaurava's army attacks the kingdom of Draupad and he is taken as prisoner. In this way, Dronacharya, after being the teacher of Pandavas and Kauravas, take revenge on Draupad. In turn, King Draupad, after being released, undertakes a strict penance for vengeance and is asked to perform yajna for the birth of a warrior male child. As everyone in the kingdom rejoiced the birth of Drishtadyumna, whom whom we will call as Dri in our later part of the novel. Unexpectedly, Draupadi is also born out of the fire of Yajna, and a celestial voice instructs to take care of Draupadi as she is going to change the history. King Draupad victoriously lifts Drishtadyumna or Dri, and Draupadi clings so hard to her brother that he has to lift both of them. And from then on, Draupadi doesn't like her father because he has rejected her, and she doesn't trust her father, and this converts her resentment towards her father towards the resentment of her father's palace. This makes her constantly imagine how her own palace in future, that is after her marriage, would look like. And this is how Draupadi's childhood goes on. And as the siblings grow up, Dri is educated in warfare and knowledge of ruling of kingdom. Draupadi shows a lot of interest in these topics, but these topics are not to be taught to women because of the gender roles, and instead she is taught 64 arts that a princess should know. However, Draupadi is very intelligent and she is very much interested. She reads Nyaya Shastra all by herself. After this, apart from Lee, Draupadi is very much attached to Lord Krishna, as he is also dark skinned like him. Dark skin for women was considered against the standards of beauty in our society. This happens even today, and Draupadi was dark skinned, because of which she used to feel very underconfident and she used to hide herself initially until she talks to Krishna, and Krishna gives her enough confidence, and she becomes a very confident queen. And later on, she is known for her beauty everywhere. And so throughout the novel, Krishna is a very good ally and friend of Draupadi, and he keeps guiding her like a father figure. And Draupadi, she soon meets Vyasa, who informs her about the future, that she will marry five eminent warriors, she will be the greatest queen ever, and she will own a very magical palace. But to the end, she will become a servant. Vyasa also instructs Draupadi to control her pride, vengeance, and temper for a better future. Draupadi is really scared when she gets to know about her future, and she prays that all the predictions of Vyasa should never come true. Her fears are soon forgotten when, with the entry of Shikandi, who happens to be the daughter of King Draupada and stepsister of Draupadi. Shikandi is banished by King Draupad as she has turned into a male with the boon of Yaksha to seek revenge against Bhishma, who is the grandfather of Kauravas. and Pandavas. Shikandi, in her previous birth, was a princess of Kashi. Her name was Amba, and she was to marry King Salva, who were King Salva, and in her Swayamvar, and during her Swayamvar, she and her sisters are abducted by Bhishma in order to get them married to his younger brother. His younger brother turns down Amba because she already has another man in her heart and she is not considered to be chaste. So Bhishma drops her back to Salva, and King Salva, saying that because Amba is touched by another man, he drops her back to her kingdom. And so Amba requests Bhishma to marry her, but Bhishma doesn't marry her because of the promise he has given to his father. However, uh, uh, out of vengeance, Amba, she tries to pray to many gods in order to take her vengeance, but no one dares to help her because Bhishma is very strong warrior and he is also Ganga Putra. So finally, Lord Kartikeya he gives a garland to Amba and says that whoever would wear this garland would be able to kill Bhishma, and no one does that. So in the next incarnation or the next birth, she herself wears this garland and she turns into a man in order to kill Bhishma. And uh, here, Shikandi, she is in this. Is treated as a castaway, and Draupadi and Draupad they spend a long time with Shikandi. They feel a sense of family for the first time with Shikandi. Soon, Shikandi leaves to live in isolation in forest in order to perform penance and thanks Draupadi as she is going to be the reason for killing Bhishma very soon. As the time passes, one day Draupadi is informed that a Swayamvar is arranged for her. Draupadi is initially very much excited, thinking that she will be able to choose her soulmate. But when she gets to know that the test that her suitors have to undergo, she thinks that she will be never be able to marry as the test is very difficult. The suitors of Draupadi have to use Kindhara, which is a very heavy, which is one of the very heavy uh, uh, bows that is there on earth, and they have to hit into the eyes of a fish, of a moving fish. But Krishna and Dhri, they console Draupadi, saying that Arjuna would be able to very easily qualify the test. Draupadi soon gets to know that her marriage is just a wagger for her father to take revenge against Dronacharya. By setting challenge for Draupadi's marriage, King Draupad wanted to attract Pandava warrior Arjuna for the Swayamvar and make Pandavas their friends so that Pandavas will never attack them in future. Draupadi is shattered when she realizes this and dislike towards her father multiplies as he puts the lives of his children at stake for his vengeance. Before her Swayamvar, a sorceress visits Draupadi and teach her many things, preparing Draupadi for her future. Draupadi is taught to get ready beautifully in hundreds of ways, cook, live like a common woman, treat diseases, and learn breath controlling techniques. From the sorceress, Draupadi comes to know about her future mother in law, Kunti, who is also the mother of Pandavas. Kunti was adopted by her childless uncle Kunti Bhoj and had a very lonely childhood. Her marriage to Pandu was loveless and it was just for a political convenience. As if all this wasn't enough, Pandu immediately marries a beautiful woman named Madri and bestows all his affection on her. Kunti has a boon given by sage Durvasa that Kunti can call any god and they would bless her with a child. In this manner, she gives birth to three children Yudhishthir, who is the eldest and who is the son of god of righteousness, Bhim, the son of god of wind, and Arjuna, who is son of Indra. Kunti loans her boon to Madri and she gives birth to two children, Nakul and Sahadev, who are sons of god of healers. King Pandu was cursed by a Brahmin and had to leave the forest for penance along with his wives. He leaves his kingdom under the guardian of Dhritarashtra, who is the blind brother of Pandu. In unfortunate situations, Pandu and Madri die in forest, and Kunti, mustering all her courage, brings back all the five Pandavas to Hastinapur, where they have to face many challenges and a lot of hatred. Draupadi feels pity hearing the story of Kunti, but the sorceress warns her against it. Draupadi exclaims that Draupadi exclaims that I visualize myself as a great queen, dispensing wisdom and love. Panchali, the peacemaker, people would call me. But only the readers know how ironical the statement is going to be. Portraits of princes who are going to attend the Swayamvar are presented to Draupadi in the presence of Dri and Krishna. Draupadi is immediately attracted to the portrait of Karna. And the exclamations made by Krishna and Dri regarding Karna attracts her towards Karna even more. Dri and Krishna, they warn Draupadi to be away from Karna. Soon the news of Pandava's death in the lakh house in Varnavat is known and Draupadi is shattered, but Krishna shuns all the news. And the portrait of Pandava, especially Arjuna, is shown to Draupadi. Though Draupadi seems attracted to be Arjun outwardly, inwardly she is attracted to Karna. Draupadi asks the painter Draupadi asked the painter to send the portrait of Kunti, her future mother-in-law, out of curiosity. But the painter has no portrait of Kunti and sends the portrait of Gandhari. Gandhari is treated as Pativrata for tying white cloth around her eyes as she marries blind Dhritarashtra. Draupadi wonders if Gandhari had ever regretted her decision. In spite of all the sacrifices made by Gandhari, she is not in a happy marriage. Draupadi wonders if unhappy marriages are what make strong women, citing the examples of Gandhari and Kunti. Dhritarashtra is frustrated that Kunti had given birth to Yudhishthir and he is made the king even before Gandhari. And Dhritarashtra's words makes Gandhari frustrated, out of which she hits her pregnant stomach hard several times and gives birth to a huge ball of meat. The ball was then cut into 101 pieces by a sage and put in casket, turns out to be 101 Kauravas. Next, the story of birth of Karna is narrated by Dri to curious Draupadi. Karna was found floating in basket in water to Adhiratha, a chariot driver. Karna was born with golden earrings and golden armor covering his chest. Interested to learn archery, Karna approaches Dronacharya, but he refuses to take him as a student as he is not a Kshatriya. Karna later on approaches Parshuram and doesn't disclose about his parentage. When Parshuram comes to know about the parentage of Karna, he immediately curses him that whenever Karna tries to call for Brahmastra, he will forget the mantra that has to be recited. Kanna is introduced to all the characters when he participates in a tournament which is conducted for the prince by Dronacharya. Karna wins over Arjun, but Dronacharya says that as Karna is not a prince, he cannot be declared as a winner. Immediately, Duryodhan comes to his aid. He calls him his brother and makes him the king of Anga. After this, Karna becomes a very good friend of Duryodhan and he promises endless brotherhood to Duryodhan. Swayamvar to Draupadi begins and Karna comes to the test first. Three stops him from participating in Swayamvar because of the parentage of Karna. Karna leaves the Swayamvar frustrated and upset, and this leaves a soft corner in the heart of Draupadi for Karna. Finally, a Brahmin who is considered to be higher born than Kshatriya in ordinary clothes comes and wins the test. The next Draupadi remembers is walking bare feet in streets with her feet bleeding with the man who had won the test. The man is none other than Arjun, who is hiding his identity after the attack on his family in Varnavrat. Draupadi vaguely remembers her marriage to Arjun. He refuses to take riches and comforts provided by King Draupad and takes Draupadi along with her. The five brothers take Draupadi to a small hut where Kunti was cooking. Being playfully says that they have brought something for Kunti, and unaware of the situation, Kunti says that the five brothers should equally share whatever they have brought with them. As Pandavas argue, Draupadi feels very exhausted and she feels very unwelcomed, because of which she leans against the wall and dozes off until being woken by Kunti. For some time, Kunti insists that all her five sons should marry Draupadi, and for some time, Draupadi is unable to understand and believe what is happening around her. She wishes Arjun to stand for her and argue against his mother, but to her utter disappointment, Arjun just remains silent and he doesn't say anything. Draupadi feels disappointed, miserable, and disillusioned at this point of time. All her dreams of having a beautiful palace and having a loving partner is shattered at this moment. The next day, King Draupad, along with Dri, comes to protest against the decision taken by Kunti. They decide to consult the great King Vyasa regarding the decision. Vyasa sends his verdict that Draupadi should be married to all five Pandavas. And, uh, and he also designs a special code of conduct for their marriage to be peaceful. According to Vyasa's code, Draupadi will be the wife of each Pandava for 1 year. During the year, the other brothers shouldn't look into the eyes and talk to Draupadi or even touch her. If they do so, they will be banished from the household for an year. Vyasa gives a boon to Draupadi with which she can turn into virgin each year. Vyasa's decisions angers Draupadi and makes her feel helpless. She feels like a communal cup which is passed from one person to another. Draupadi feels that if Vyasa had consulted her, she would have wished for a boon of forgetfulness so that she can forget the previous brother as she is passed to the next brother. Here, Draupadi makes a humorous comment saying that in this world, only the concerns of men are addressed and women are merely ignored. And in this manner, Panchali, and that is how Draupadi is addressed in the book after her marriage, becomes the only woman in ancient history to have five husbands. After this, Pandavas are invited back to Hastinapur and Panchali gets to live a royal life. Whenever where there is gathering of women, the women simply talk about jewelry and clothes. And Panchali here yearns for intelligent conversations with someone. She always longs for attention of Arjun, whom she had actually loved, but he appears to be very angry, as if Panchali had made the mistake of marrying all the five brothers herself. And of all the brothers, she finds Bhim to be most sensible, helpful, and caring. Bhishma insists that Dhritarashtra to divide the kingdom and give the right of Yudhishthir. And Dhritarashtra give Khandav to Pandavas, which is the most desolate and barren land. Pandavas, without protesting the injustice done to them, call for Maya, the greatest architect, and ask him to build a grand palace for them. Maya, out of his gratitude for Arjuna as he had saved his life, builds an amazing palace which had never existed and in history and probably which would never exist in future also. The palace has kitchen where hundreds of stoves can be lit at once without fuels. There are chambers made of crystal and ivory, small ponds, different flowers, waterfalls, birds and animals roaming all around the palace. The palace was magical and indescribable. Everyone tries to suggest a name for the palace, but it's named as the Palace of Illusions, as per the choice of Panchali. Maya hands over the palace with caution to never call any guests and enjoy the palace for themselves. The novel is filled with many foreshadowings and predictions like this of what would happen next, but the author shows that destiny is irreversible, and this foreshadowing, the technique that is used by the author, makes the novel very interesting to read and also gives a lot of humor in the novel. So people call the palace of Pandavas as Indraprastha, and citizens flock to reside in the palace, which is ruled by the righteous king Yudhishthir. And there is prosperity in the kingdom. Panchali has wonderful ears in the beautiful palace, as she has always dreamt of. She has finally a palace of her own and a palace built for her. Panchali Kunti stays in the palace for a brief time and leaves back to Hastinapur. So Panchali becomes the queen of the palace, and as Chaucer's wife of Bath tale says, she has sovereignty over her husbands. Panchali's views are interrupted with other marriages of her husband. Panchali responds to this by sulking and throwing tantrums, which is considered to be inappropriate for a woman in those days. And people talk about how evil tongued Panchali is and compare her to dark thunder. Panchali knows that she has a special place in the hearts of her husband, and no one can replace her. However, marriage of Arjun with beautiful Subhadra greatly disturbs Panchali. She is upset for never receiving the kind of love which Arjun has for Subhadra. Later, Subhadra becomes her favorite, and in future, as she trusts her children on Subhadra when Pandavas go for Aranyavasa. Soon, Yudhishthir has a dream that his forefathers are not in heaven but in Yamaloka. Narada suggests to perform Rajasuya Yajna to send their forefathers to heaven. To perform this yajna, a huge fire ceremony has to be held, and one should make all the kings of Bharat pay tribute during the yaga and fight with those who disagree against this. Pandavas, with the help of Krishna, kill Jarasandha, which makes them respected in the entire nation. Kauravas are also invited for the yaga. The celebrations of yaga and the arrangements are very grand, and the yaga ends successfully. All the kings leave except Kauravas. Panchali is aware of Duryodhana's intentions as he goes around and looks inspecting each and every corner of the palace. Duryodhana desires to build a similar palace for himself. On one such visit, Duryodhana arrives near the quarters of Panchali. Confused with the illusions of the palace, he falls into water. And Panchali, along with the servants who are present around, break into loud laughter. One of the servants even exclaims that the blind king's son is also blind, which angers Duryodhana and humiliates him to a very bad extent. Panchali thinks that she could have controlled the situation by calling the servant who made the bad remarks and punishing her in front of Duryodhana, but she does nothing. She even thinks to inform about this to Yudhishthir and apologize to Duryodhana, but even she doesn't do this. This incident is just left unattended, and Kauravas leave for Hastinapur. After a few days, Pandavas are invited by Duryodhana to come and stay in his newly constructed palace for a few days. Women are not allowed to accompany their husbands for such occasions, but Panchali too goes with her husbands to Hastinapur even after being stopped by Kunti. Panchali desires to go to Hastinapur in order to meet Karna or at least have a glance of him. Pandavas and Panchali leave for Hastinapur, where Duryodhana's palace is a mere copy of Pandava's palace without the magic that is there in the palace. Here, Panchali spends days in leisure and she is very happy until one day Pandavas lose all their wealth and prosperity in the game of dice. Panchali is woken in midst of her sleep and pulled to Sabha in Hastinapur. Her head reels when she gets to know about how her husbands have lost everything and she turns numb. As the lines of the book say, did he grab my hair, which no man had ever touched except with reverent love? I begged his leave to change into suitable clothing. Jeering at what he termed my false modesty, he dragged me down the palace corridors before the shocked gaze of retainers. No one dared intervene. I found myself in court, 100 male eyes burning through me. The day people had seen injustice being done to a woman as never like in history, which had happened never before. Dushasan tries to pull the sari of Panchali and she immediately tries to focus her mind on someone whom she loves. Krishna comes to her aid, calms her, lengthens her sari, and saves Panchali from humiliation. And rest, what happens is all we know. One has to read this beautiful description given by the author as we get emotionally fixed to Panchali and her condition over here. Panchali loses her confidence in her husband and even loses her attraction towards Karna as he stays numb without saying anything or without stopping the injustice happening to her. She burns for vengeance and curses Kauravas. From then on, she leaves her royal clothing and wombs her long hair into a bun and refrains from washing her hair until her vengeance is fulfilled. Pandavas go to exile for 13 years because of losing in the game of dice, and Panchali accompanies them. Duryodhan goes to capture the palace of Pandavas, but as soon as they leave, the palace disappears and it becomes into a fist of salt with which Panchali carries with her. During their exile, Panchali reminds Pandavas about the humiliation she has underwent every day and provokes them for revenge. During their stay in the forest, Dhri brings the news of Panchali's 5 children. Panchali had always remained away from the children and had never given them the tender love of a mother. However, Panchali always thinks of communicating with her children and make a new beginning with them so that she can shower her love and affection on them. 12 years of exile finish. And last year, which is the Agyatavasa in Pandava's exile begins. Pandavas in their disguise plan to hide in Matsya kingdom, which is ruled by King Virat and which is present at the south of Indraprastha, as they think that Duryodhan would never guess their presence over there. Here, Pandavas are disguised in different forms. Arjuna is disguised as a eunuch. fulfilling the curse which Urvashi has given to him. Similarly, Bhim disguises as a cook, and in this way, Panchali, she disguises as a servant of Queen Sudeshna, who is the queen of King Virat. And here she is tormented by Queen Sudeshna's brother Kichak. Panchali tries to ask her husbands for help, but none of them help her initially until she calls for Bhima, and Bhim kills Kichak and takes his revenge on him. Soon, King Virat gets to know who that the servants who are working in their house are none other than Pandavas in their disguise, and they apologize to them. Pandavas win the wager put to them by Duryodhan, and the war of Mahabharata is declared very soon. Panchali has nightmares and visions before the war. And as we all know the story, both Duryodhan and Arjun, they go to take the aid of Krishna. While Duryodhan sits near Krishna's head, Arjun sits near Krishna's feet. And Arjun, immediately after waking up, he first addresses Arjun, and he says that he would be with them and he would be the charioteer of Arjuna, and he would send all his army to Duryodhana. So, in this manner, the preparations for the war is seen in the story. And as Panchali has many visions and nightmares. In some of her visions, she sees sun god, who is the father of Karna, talking to him, not revealing who his mother is, but requesting him not to give any aid or give any word to King Indra. Next vision she sees is that of Kunti talking to Karna, and from this vision she gets to know that Karna's mother is none other than Kunti. And here Kunti pleads Karna to save the lives of her sons, and she should so that he would get Panchali as his wife, as he is also one of the brothers. This makes Panchali angry, but she sympathizes with the situation of Kunti. Women's tents are pitched near the lake Samanta Panchaka before the war, and all the warriors, including the sons of Pandavas like Gatotkacha and Abhimanyu, also come there in order to fight for the war. Vyasa appears to Panchali and gives her a boon that she will be able to witness the war of Mahabharata as if she is present in the battlefield in her meditative state. And Panchali becomes the mirror through which all the war is seen in the novel. Panchali sees and narrates all the important milestones of the war. This includes the death of Bhishma, the death of Dronacharya, and many other warriors like Abhimanyu, Ghatotkacha, and Karna, and many others. She laughs and cries at the death of her loved ones. The death of Karna leaves Panchali completely shattered. The war ends with Bhima killing Duryodhana. Sons born to Pandavas with other wives like Abhimanyu and Ghatotkacha are killed, but the sons of Panchali are alive. Though distraught by the war, Panchali is happy with the survival of her sons. The war ends with the war ends with the victory of Pandavas. That very night, Dri, with her 5 children of Draupadi, is killed by Ashwadama. Draupadi is traumatized with the death of her 5 children and then realizes that vengeance only sow vengeance. She wanted to talk to her children after the war. She wanted to bestow all the emotions she had on them. But this doesn't happen. This leaves Panchali distraught. And at this moment, Uttara, the widow of Abhimanyu, gives birth to a son named Prakshit, and also Arjuna kills Ashwadhama as he has behaved wrongly towards his children. After the war ends, Hastinapur is filled with widows, and there are cries everywhere. As Yudhishthir occupies the throne, all the widows gather to wail and curse the king. There is distrust and confusion in them until they see Panchali, who motivate them for a better future. She shares how distraught she herself is after the death of her own children. So Panchali realizes that the widows of her kingdom are being exploited in various ways. So she sets up a separate court for women where the problems of women were heard by Panchali, Subhadra, and Uttara. Panchali sells her jewelry and finances new business for women. All the other Pandava queens and princes does the same, and there is again prosperity in the kingdom. The war leaves the Pandavas deeply disturbed and they revive because of Prakshit. He becomes the apple of everyone's eyes. Vyasa visits Pandavas and he cautions about Prakshit's future to Panchali. Vyasa asks Panchali to keep an eye on Prakshit's temper, which would bring doom onto him in future. As the time passes, one day Pandavas come to know about the ruin of Yadava clan and death of Balrama and Krishna. Arjun goes to Dwaraka to confront the news and sees Dwaraka being submerged in water. After the death of Krishna, Pandavas decide to leave their worldly life. They decide to take secret path on the Himavat mountain to get salvation. It's said that no woman has ever taken the path, but Panchali decides to accompany her husbands. As per the rules, while walking on the path of Himavan, no one should look back or wait for others. The next day, Panchali with her husbands dressed in simple clothes, go to Himavan. As she walks on the difficult path of Himavan, Panchali's life recapitulates in front of her eyes. She recalls all the good and bad times she had. Finally, she sees Krishna giving his hand to her, and Panchali achieves salvation upon holding the hand of Krishna. With this, the novel comes to an end. I don't know if I have done justice describing this novel or not, but I have cut short the stories and, descriptions at many places. However, I insist everyone to read this beautiful novel if they want to have complete enjoyment of this novel. The language used is very simple and straightforward. Those who know Mahabharata, if they read this novel, they can recapitulate many of the stories that are given in this novel once again. And those who don't know Mahabharata can get to know about Mahabharata from this novel. And Chitra Banerje, Divakaruni, she portrays the character very subtly and very beautifully. We feel as if these characters, who are none other than gods like Bhishma, Dronacharya, or let it be Karna, or let it be Draupadi or whoever it is, in a very beautiful manner, we feel as if they are our next door neighbors and as if we talk to them, or we have seen them. So this is how beautifully Chitra Banerjee Divakaruni portrays each of the characters in the novel, and she uses the techniques of irony, foreshadowing, and humor to make the novel very much interesting. And we feel emotionally connected to each and every character of Mahabharata, especially to Draupadi, as we get justice of or justification of all the actions of Draupadi. And women characters who in normal Mahabharata are not that given that much importance are given lots of importance in this text, and we get to know much information about them. And this text completely has a feminist tone, which I hope all the readers will be able to enjoy if they read this text. So, with these observations, I would like to end my lecture over here, and I would like to thank our principal sir, Dr. K. Surya Chandra Rao sir, for giving me this opportunity, as well as APCC and officials of APCC, Dr. Anil Kumar sir, and for providing me this opportunity. And finally, I would like to say a big thanks to APSCHE for providing me this opportunity. Also to audience for the patience listening to this presentation or the review of mine. Thank you so much to everyone.
Thank you, ma'am. Srimati K. Monika, in her extraordinary review on the book, The Palace of Illusions, is a reimagining of Indian epic Mahabharata through the eyes of an often overlooked character, Draupadi, the fiery and enigmatic queen of the Pandava. Banerje breathed ancient by giving a voice of Panchali, transforming her form flavored and powerful protagonist, sparking thought-provoking knowledge women's of India's greatest epics. It appeals to readers interested in mythology, feminism, and historical fiction. Through Draupadi's story, Divakarun not only revives an age-old legend but also speaks to contemporary themes of identity, power, and resistance. Thank you, Srimati K. Monika, for the English book review on the book The Palace of Illusions. See you next week with the AP State Council of Higher Education, Talk the Book, Telugu book review. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, sir.